so we don't have to get them all the way up here anymore. I can boom a little bit. What's on your mind?
How you have so many versatile guys in the secondary who can play corner and safety. How much are you going to kind of experiment with different combos from now till the end of camp, and how much do you want to just kind of get guys into their roles?
No, you'll see that mainly this time of year, and you guys don't see a significant portion of it, but you'll see guys move around and play multiple positions, particularly some experienced guys. Some of the younger guys, we want to try to settle in at one position and just let them compete there. But, once you're in the mix of making our roster, you have to have some versatility. Play inside, play outside, play safety, play corner. All those things help you not only make the roster, but help us over the course of the season. So you're going to see it probably more now and then early in camp. And then when we get later in camp, probably zero guys in to compete for some certain spots. This time of year, we're really not competing. I mean, the players are really competing against themselves. They're not competing against their teammates. They're not competing against somebody else at the position or the offense. They're competing to get themselves better as a player. And we try to keep that in mind right at this time of year.
Just some early thoughts on, the additions that you've made in the offseason here with Malik and up and down the lineup, Zach and so forth, and safety. Can you just kind of some early thoughts on what you think you've added to the defense?
It's obviously still a work in progress. History holds true. There'll be another addition somewhere along the line. Howie and Joe have never been shy about adding another player in training camp or at the waiver wire or anything else. But we're excited about the new guys that have come in, some experienced players. I'd even start with, Vinny Curry, getting Vinny back. And, he really looks like he hasn't missed a beat from where he was when he last played a game for us, which was in Minnesota. And then adding a guy like Malik inside. And, Malik has a little bit of inside-outside flexibility. He's a really good inside pass rusher. Has really good length, really a good complement to Fletch inside. Getting Timmy back, on the road to being more healthy. I mean, that's another. We really haven't seen Timmy at his best since the Minnesota game or the game in Minnesota a couple years ago. Zach Brown has some flexibility. He's played a lot of good football. Exciting to get him. Deho in the back end, all those guys we're excited to have, and I'm probably missing a bunch of them, draft picks, you name it. We're throwing them all out there right now and trying to get guys, up to speed on the scheme. A little bit easier for some guys as opposed to others. Vinny's been here before, easier for him. Veteran players, it's really just a matter of putting it in their own terminology. Younger players, rookies, it's probably a little steeper learning curve.
You meant Chris Long and Michael Bennett are no longer here. That's over 15 sacks, 50 quarterback hits, double-digit tackles for loss. How do you expect to replace all that production?
Yeah, I think that's business as usual for us. From our first year here, the next year we lost Connor Barwin, and that was a big loss. A lot of leadership and a lot of past production. And then after the Super Bowl, talked about, losing a guy like Vinny. So change in the NFL is nothing new. There's a challenge every year trying to replace certain production. So it's nothing new. We'll miss those guys. They were important parts of what we done. Chris for 2 years, Michael for 1. But that's just life in the NFL. You're going to have some roster turnover, and you have to deal with it. I like some of the additions that we've had. We got some younger players moving into some of those roles. Even a young draft pick like Sharif has done some good things for us over the last couple weeks. So it'll probably be not a quick transition, but that's our job over the course of OTAs and training camp to get our production back where we need it.
You never got a chance to see Paul Warlow last year because obviously he had the ACL. After like a year of recovery and stuff, what have you seen so far from him? I mean, how can he contribute, at linebacker?
Well, first thing he's done is he has impressed every single person in the building with his work ethic. He's just been incredible the way he's attacked his injury rehab, and he's really been a leader for a lot of the other guys. We have a significant number of injuries in there, and has really set a good standard for the work that it takes to recover. And Paul's a veteran player, has experience in Atlanta, had some experience in Detroit. That shows through also. He's still working his way back, but veteran players, it's a little bit easier. He doesn't have to fight the learning curve as much as just getting his body right.
What strides do Derek Barnett and Sidney Jones need to make this spring and this summer?
Well, both of those guys have played good football for us. I think the next step for a guy like Derek was playing at a really high level before he got hurt last year. Obviously wasn't able to bounce back from that and finished the year on the IR. So with him, it's really just a matter of picking up where he left off. Sid was sort of the same thing and battled some injuries early, then had some productive time on the field, then battled injuries again, and then, struggled through some times on the field. I think that'll be an advantage for him going forward. It was a tough season for him, but he did experience some success. He saw some tough times. He persevered through it. Finished a year healthy, even though he wasn't really back on the field for us. And, this is an important offseason, important training camp for him.
In addition, you mentioned a little bit of the transition up front. There's also that at linebacker without Jordan Hicks. You mentioned Paul a little bit for the coverage responsibilities. Is that where potentially L.J. Ford kind of fits in?
Yeah, he's a good all-around player. He's been a good special teams player, plays the run well, fits into the pass game well. He has, even though he hasn't started a lot in the NFL, he has a lot of experience. Just being on the practice field and seeing a lot of different situations over the course of the time that he spent on different practice squads and as a backup player, it's really been beneficial for him. He's been a good acquisition for us and been good watching him on the field. Jordan, another guy that we have to replace his production. But over the last couple of years, we already had at different times of the year, Super Bowl year, halfway through the year, and there was a span of about 3 or 4 games last year where he was injured. So it's something we've done in the past.
With the addition of Malik and the return of Vinny. It looks, at least on paper, that you might not need to use Brandon as much inside. Is that a plus for him, both as far as wearing down and also using his abilities to the maximum?
Yeah, we've moved a lot of different guys around. He didn't play a lot inside for us last year because that's where Michael Bennett played most of the time. So, we moved him around a little bit, but not as much maybe as the year before. I think when it's all said and done, when I'm in a rocking chair somewhere and I think of Brandon Graham, I'm still going to think of the forced fumble in the Super Bowl, and that was from a defensive tackle position. So he certainly has capability to make plays in there. I don't think it has anything to do with him wearing down. He's fit for that position. And it'll be interesting to see how it develops as we go forward in training camp and in preseason games and early in the season, what our best combination of guys are. Last couple of years here, we've used 3 defensive ends in most of our rush packages. When I was in Buffalo, we had Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius. Marcel was a double-digit sacker. We didn't take those guys off the field. We rushed out of 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends. Sort of same thing when I was in Detroit with Sue and Fairley in there, and even going back to Tennessee with a guy like Hainsworth. So how it'll work out, I don't know right now, but it is beneficial to have another guy inside that can be an impact pass rusher, and we think Malik is that guy.
What's the impact of not having Malcolm in the building?
Well, certainly he's one of our most experienced players. He's one of our biggest leaders, but again, that's really not anything unusual. And when you look around the NFL, different guys in, different guys out, different guys have different parts of their career. Some guys benefit from more rest, some guys benefit from more work. Every case is a little bit different. I know this, when the chips are down, you'll be able to count on Malcolm Jenkins. And a lot of other guys were trying to find that out about, and that's what they're doing here at this time of year. Malcolm has, some of those credits already in his bank account.
Jim, what did you like about Sharif?
Same question.
Yeah. So what is it about him that sticks out?
Any add to that? Same.
What did you like about him as a prospect?
Same thing. He's got really good length. He has some basketball athletic ability. He had a lot of basketball in his background. You can see that. He's got some good eyes to rush the passer. He's around the ball a lot. He did those things at Penn State, and we've seen some of the same things with him here. Just like a lot of young players, there's things he's going to work on as far as technique, the consistency that goes into being a professional player. It's no longer acceptable to have an up game and a down game. You need to strive for consistency because that's what this league is all about. So a lot of that has to go with technique and physical conditioning and things like that. And he's really no different than most of the other rookies when it comes to those things. But, I think he fits us really well, what he does. And he's a good young player to have in the pipeline.
Followed Blake Countess's career since he left here?
Yeah, well, we've played the Rams a few times, and then also when we play different opponents, you'll see breakdowns of different people. So sure, we've seen him.
What were your impressions? And when he left here, I mean, did you ever think he'd have a chance to come back?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were excited about drafting him. And, I mean, the numbers didn't work out in training camp that year, but I think we would have been aggressive to try to get him back on our practice squad. He chose to leave. He was able to, get on an active roster, play a little bit. He didn't play a ton last year. I think he played a little bit more the year before. But the same reasons we liked him when we drafted him is what we like now. And, just trying to add as many guys. He became available. Like I said before, you get guys that become available in the middle of the offseason. I think our scouting department really does a good job staying on top of those guys, and good to have them back.
Of the returning players, who are some of the guys who have kind of impressed you with the work they've put in, just from a kind of a physical standpoint, from when they left here to where they are now, whether it's transforming their body or other stuff?
Yeah, all our guys are working really hard. So I don't know if I really want to put one on anything else. I think there's some young veteran players that you're seeing, whether it's, I don't necessarily want to say it's just been hard work because all those guys work hard, but maybe they get a better understanding of what they do. Their technique becomes a little bit more consistent. I think Russell Douglas is in that category. Over the last couple of years, even though he wasn't a starter, he probably played as much he probably has a year of starting experience under his belt, and you're starting to see that when he goes out. I think one guy that's really made a lot of strides since we got him, because we got him right at the draft, has been Ridgeway, defensive lineman. We play a different style up front, and sometimes players don't look good right away, but he made a quick transition to what we do. And he's been impressive out here. But I do want to put that all with a caveat. They all look good this time of year. I think that 27 years in the NFL, I could probably make a pretty good all-star team of OTAs and first week in training camp. And we could put that group together, and there probably wouldn't be very many people that, a lot of guys have heard of. And you guys are probably the same way. You guys always probably have some articles in the first week of training camp of somebody that really stood out. But this league's not about that. It's not about, doing that. It's about being consistent over a long period of time. That's why training camp is long. You want to see who can persevere. You want to see who can survive the tough times in training camp, and, who can, rise when it's all said and done. It's not just who the flash in the pan player is. So I do want to put that as a caveat right now. There's a big difference between looking good, running through some drills, and looking good in non-contact practices in an off-season program, and that translating to real ball in the fall.
Jim, you mentioned at the beginning players competing against themselves to try to get better. Where does Sidney Jones right now fit physically and mentally into that picture? Assess him where he is.
Yeah, like I said before, I think his first year was really just a learning experience and trying to get healthy. So you really got to take that off the equation, or take that off of the map. And then last year, started the year as a starter in the nickel position. Did some really good things in there when we were playing early in the year, and all of a sudden we started having injuries, started having to move him around a little bit. He ended up playing outside a little bit more. He experienced some injuries and tried to battle through those, and had mixed success doing that. And then as the year went on, he missed a significant portion late in the season, was able to get back to being healthy. So those are all perspectives that will benefit him this year. He's had a little bit of success, and he's also had some struggles. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think everybody in life gets a little bit better when they experience some tough times and some struggles. I think Sid's no different. He has a lot of talent. He's been playing inside and outside for us on in the corner position. He's been playing both right and left. But it won't just be about where he is in the offseason. It's going to be about where he is in training camp and where he is at the end of training camp, at the end of our preseason games.
About whether he's got improved physically. Sidney said at the end of this past season, that he had been told that he needed to get stronger. Is he stronger?
Yeah, him and probably like 53 other guys. I think.
He's only 100. He's 180 pounds.
Yeah, I don't know the weight has.
Okay.
The weight has a lot to do with it. I think there's a couple things with corners is, it's a tough skill set to play corner when you have to be able to run with world-class athletes down the field, and then you also have to step up and take on a pulling guard that weighs 330 pounds, or take down a running back that weighs 250. A lot of times those are mutually exclusive skill sets. Corners have to have those, and the way that you handle those things is you really have to be, I say just like strong, but strong is a lot of different ways. Number one, strong, being able to take those plays on. Number two, having the wherewithal to withstand those over the course of 16 games. I've had some really good corners in my history. A lot of them were 400-pound benchers. And the 400-pound bench really didn't show up in the way they played, but it showed up in the fact that they were able to play 16 games, be on the field. So I think that as you're working to get stronger, you're also working to be more consistent and be available more. So I think that goes into it.
Last one, please.
Nope.
To go back to what you were saying about OTAs, in your experience, what are the things that you were able to evaluate that do matter?
Well, I think that you're really not evaluating as much as you're just, best way to put it. You're always evaluating, but you're not making final decisions. You're taking everything with a little bit of a grain of salt, so to speak, bad cliche, but you're taking it with that saying, okay, this is what we're seeing now. Let's see if it translates to training camp pads. Let's see if it translates to preseason games. But I do think you can see technique, the consistency and technique, and I think you can also tell a lot about a guy with his understanding of what you're doing, missed assignments, mental errors, things like that. So I think those things sort of can, you can learn a lot about guys this way, but when it's all said and done, it has to be real football to really evaluate players. Okay? Thanks, guys.
What's happening? How y'all doing? Good.
How you doing?
Great. Doing great. Good to be talking football here in May. It's exciting.
Mike, what did you like about Miles Sanders just coming out as a prospect?
Well, I think his versatility, number one. We think he's really good between the tackles and has the ability to make somebody miss in the hole and obviously create more than what might have been there. And obviously his ability out in space, again, to make guys miss. We think he's a versatile player and that he has very good ball skills and can catch the ball in the backfield. So we're excited to add him to the team.
How do you, with the addition of Deshaun Jackson, when you were self-evaluating last year, did you feel like there was a missing element of some sort of deep threat to the offense?
Well, we think Deshaun is a special player, and I think he fits our system really well, and very good complementary piece to the other weapons that we have on our team in that huddle at any time over the course of the season. So we're excited to get Deshaun back.
How do you reflect on how your first season went as offensive coordinator, your first season in that job?
Well, we didn't win the Super Bowl, so obviously we fell short of what our goal was, and That's what we've been in here working all off-season on, and excited to be back out there on the practice field with these guys and working towards that goal again.
As a follow-up to that, as you had a chance to step back, what did you learn in that first year that will help you in year two?
Well, I think you learn. There's a lot of things, and we could have a conversation for hours about things that you learn through experience. And you know, there was a lot of different things that came at us that we had to adjust to throughout the course of the season. And I think you know, overall, you know, we were able to do that. But you know, going in the second year and being able to step back and evaluate it and look forward. And add new guys to the team and just really just keep moving forward and to have everybody out there practicing right now makes a big difference.
How does it feel for you? How does it feel for you going into the second year of this job for you?
Yeah, I'm really comfortable in it, and like I said, excited about being back out there with the guys, everybody here in the building. Obviously here in Phase 3 and OTAs, getting to work against a really good defense and a challenging defense each and every day, and you know, really in player development and helping guys get better so that they can be the best player that they can be come training camp.
What do you look for from specifically from Carson during these?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
what do you
beginning.
look for from Carson at this point in the preseason?
Well, I think you know, just for him getting back out there is important. Be out there in May with everybody, getting the continuity with everybody and the chemistry in the passing game and getting those throws is very important.
How does he look? Yeah, how does
Oh, he's doing great. Yeah, he's doing excellent.
Is there anything that stands out in terms of where he left off, actually versus last year at this point, and also
Well,
where
last
he
year at this
left
point, he
off?
wasn't on the practice field with us. So, like I said, it's a bonus to have him out there with us and to be able to work with the receivers and the tight ends and the running backs, to be able to, let's just say, play from practice on Thursday, to be able to go talk about it this morning in a meeting, maybe make a tweak and a read here or there because he's out there and he's feeling it. He's not just watching the tape, and able to have those kinds of productive discussions. All those things are helpful.
You've had a chance to, you know, get to know Dallas Goedert, see what he could do. You bring in Jordan, Miles, Deshaun. Where does the scheme go from here? Does it expand significantly? What's it kind of like sitting there in your meetings?
Well, we certainly feel really good about the guys that we have from a skill level standpoint, whether you're talking about tight ends or the receiver position or the running back position. We like the weapons that we have on offense, and just blending them all together is kind of the process that we're going through right now.
You touched on it with Carson, but at this point of OTAs, what do you want to see from the offense?
I think just individual player development is really what we're you know, geared towards. Trying to help each and every guy become a little bit better every day. Obviously, as they become more familiar and comfortable with working with one another, the continuity there in the huddle and the transitioning of different personnel groups, you know, and then becoming very situationally aware. Coach has got us, you know, doing a lot of different situations throughout the course of a practice, whether it's, you know, third down or red zone or what have you. So, trying to be the best we can in each one of those situations.
What stands out to you about right guard when we were here last week? Did you work him in there at all at any point last year? And what do you see in him, his ability to kind of cross-train and guard and tackle?
To the best of my knowledge, I would say no. We didn't work V in there last year at guard, but we have been cross-training him at guard some this year. I think being able to cross-train and have versatile offensive linemen gives you a lot of flexibility throughout the course of a 16-week season. Being that there's usually only about 7 guys that are active on game days. So he's done a nice job. He's fit in there nicely, and he's played well there at right guard at times.
How do you think he fits in that position, especially given that he hasn't done that in the first 3 years of his career?
Right. I think it's a good time for him to do that, and he's got a lot of time on task at tackle. Feels very comfortable in the scheme and being able to communicate all the calls and spit the calls out in a moment's notice. So, you know, he's jumped in there and done a nice job.
Mike, change in the quarterback room past Carson, Nate kind of moving up, and then you bring in Cody and Clayton. How do you see those guys fitting in and learning the system?
I think the chemistry in that room has been excellent up to this point. Been together, maybe it's 3 weeks or something like that since Clayton's come on board, and maybe a little bit less than that since Cody came on board. So between Carson and Nate and Cody and Clayton, all those guys, very professional. They look like they got a great working relationship in that room. There's a lot of collaboration and dialogue in that room. It's been excellent.
I'm sorry, what stands out to you about Nate as he tries to lock up that second spot?
Well, again, he's going into year 3 here in our system. And I think he feels really comfortable with everything that we're trying to get done. He knows the language, can communicate. He's very energetic every day. He's, kind of the same guy every day from that standpoint. Loves ball and is always working with the guys and talking with the guys on the side in between plays. So I think he's excited about the opportunity and ready to take the next step.
When it comes to scheme and kind of coming up with tweaks and adjustments, what's your process? Are you watching other teams around the league, college, or are you just reviewing your own film? How do you go about that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all those things that you just mentioned. We're certainly going to evaluate ourselves and what we do in our system, how we fit the pieces that we have here into our system, but also to go out and look at what other teams had success within the league. That's always the first place to start because it's apples to apples, and then there's other things that you're curious about what's going on in the college game and how can we fit some of those things into what we're doing and have success.
Do you have to talk to any of the guys at all about spreading the ball around, making sure everybody stays happy with the amount of touches they get once the season starts? Because obviously you added Jordan, you added Deshaun, you have Nelson, Alshon, and Zach coming back and everything. It's a lot of guys.
Right. Yeah. There's like you said, there's one ball, and I think that they understand that. I think that maybe it's not unique, but one of the things that makes it a lot of fun to come to work every day is really all these guys want to do is win, and they understand by having a lot of good players, it makes it hard to defend, and that they might have to share the football.
I think one of the things that Jordan was saying that he wants to catch the ball better. Does he make strides in that at all in the short time?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job in catching the ball on the screens and the running back check-throughs and check-downs and those kinds of things. It looks like he's worked really hard at it, and he's catching the ball well.
Carson Walsh is the 4th receivers coach under Doug. What are the challenges for receivers when their position coach keeps getting switched?
Well, I think that can be a challenge. I think continuity is probably underrated in the game of football, but at least the one constant has been that I've been here. So they've heard a lot of the same and been taught a lot of the same techniques. Necessarily the techniques or the drills haven't changed a whole lot. So I think there's some continuity there. I've worked together with Carson since Chicago, and Carson's very detailed and on top of all this stuff, and I think he'll do an excellent job.
You guys haven't really thrown a lot to the backs since Doug's been here, maybe the first year, but how important is that in this offense to have guys who can, to have that threat, to have that production from the backs?
Well, I think they're certainly a valuable part of the passing game, and we've tried to use them. We've talked a lot about the different weapons that we have in that huddle, so we tried to use them when we thought we could gain an advantage, and I think Darren Sproles is one of those guys that we thought could create a matchup problem for other teams, and we were able to give him the ball, and he was very productive in some of those things that we asked him to do, and we'll continue to do that.
What about him? Have you heard from him? Is there any chance that he could unretire?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him that. I wouldn't want to speculate on that here today.
Well, how do you see him you got 3 offensive players in the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, they kind of came rapid fire. They really did. So it was exciting, and excited to get those guys integrated in the offense. Right now, they're just it's like trying to learn new language, and obviously, in some cases, it's skill development, learn new techniques, and those kinds of things. So we're throwing a lot at them, and they're all very intelligent, and they're all are working really hard to catch up to some of the veteran guys and doing a great job.
How do you see Dallas Goedert's role developing in his second year? What do you want to see out of him over the next couple months?
Well, I think it'll continue to grow. Just like everybody, really, in that huddle, we want to try to keep enhancing everybody out there and figuring out how all these pieces are going to blend together. But we're very excited about Dallas. He's a very talented guy. Had a very productive rookie campaign, and I know he's just as excited as anybody to get out there and do it again this fall.
Jim just talked about OTAs in general, players being at different parts of their careers as a coach. What do you find most valuable about these on-field sessions?
Well, we can only sit up in the office and watch so much tape. It's just to be able to get out there and to work with the guys, and even a guy who's been in the league and had success. It's good to get out there and knock the rust off a little bit, work your technique, continue to try to master your craft. Even if you get one little thing out of these next whatever we got, 7 or 12 practices left. If you get a little bit better and you figure one thing out that can help you be a better player in the fall, then it was worth it. And for other guys that we talked about, the rookies, I mean, they got a lot of things that they want to get better at. So they got a lot more clubs in their bag that they got to get better at hitting than say, a veteran guy who's had a bunch of success and knows how the league works. But if he gets better at one part of his game, then it was a valuable spring.
Mike, Doug said in March that you guys had evaluated 12 personnel and had found maybe a way to utilize it a little more, particularly on rundowns. Obviously, you're not going to give away too much of that information, but what went behind that thinking that 12 personnel package was something you needed to address?
Well, we really like the ability of both our starting tight ends, Zach and Dallas. Last year this time Dallas was in the same boat as JJ and Miles and Andre and the rest of the rookie class is trying to figure it out. And what he was able to do throughout the course of the entire season into the playoffs last year really came on strong, I'd say, from about midway through, somewhere in there, and didn't ever see any signs of him hitting any kind of rookie wall. Did a really good job at blocking at the point of attack for us, something that he wasn't asked to do a lot in college. So we just have a much better feel for his overall game, which enables you to, start, several steps ahead. In the next season, when you're just trying to figure out his game, we kind of know what he does well and continue to try to enhance those things.
In JJ's case, he has 3 established wide receivers ahead of him. You have 2 tight ends you obviously want to play. In what ways can he help in year one?
Well, I think we saw last year there was, a bunch of, it was kind of a revolving door a little bit at wide out. It's hard to go the entire season and play with just 5 guys. So I think it'll evolve as we go. We're trying to figure out his game. He's trying to figure out the system. And we really like the player. He's obviously got size. His ball skills are excellent. And, he's another weapon that should make us hard to beat.
With a prospect like JJ who makes so many contested catches in college, when you're evaluating that skill, how do you determine whether that's going to translate to the NFL where you're kind of playing against maybe a different caliber of athlete or guys with more size?
Well, like you said, contested catches usually translates. I mean, when you have the body control and the concentration that he does, in addition to the size and the length, that stuff usually translates. You can say if somebody's next to him, he's probably going to be able to make the catch. And, I think that's shown up. He's made some really good catches here early in the time that he's been here. And I think he'll only continue to get better at it now he's just doing football all the time.
What's your approach going to be to coaching Deshaun? I mean, do you coach every person the same, or is it kind of catered to the individual?
Yeah, I think you coach everybody a little bit differently. But, he's been a joy to be around, and excited that he's here. It really makes our job that much easier because he is here, and we're able to get more familiar with his game and to see, okay, all right, let's put him in this spot or let's move him over there. I think let's take a look at this now when it's May as opposed to trying to figure out in training camp or in preseason. So excited that he's here, and I know he'll be a big part of what we do.
Mike, as you look at Jordan Howard, the perception is that he's not the best pass catcher out of the backfield. You've been around him now for a little while. Fair?
Like I said, we've had 3 practices against the defense, and he's caught the ball when we've thrown it to him. So that's what I'm going to go by right now is, his production with us, and I think he's worked hard at it, and he doesn't fight the ball, and we just got to keep throwing the balls.
Okay.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike.